What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where in this one, we are a week away, officially a week away from the moment I dropped this video on Sunday. We are a week away from Colts football starting back up. Less than a week from NFL football starting. We have the Eagles Cowboys coming up on Thursday. Just had a great Saturday of college football. I know there's another game today. I believe it's Notre Dame playing somebody. Another top 10 matchup this weekend. So football in full effect right now. Not typically somebody who watches college football, but had a lot of fun watching football. I think the changes in college football, kind of making things more interesting, players more spread out, more competitive in my opinion, and had some good games. I'm a Michigan fan. Bryce Underwood performed. Shout out, good game for the true freshman out there in Michigan. So overall, good weekend of football, and we get Colts football back next weekend, which of course is what we're here to talk about. So going forward, if you enjoy Colts football, as we just hit 2,500 subscribers, I really can't tell you guys how much I appreciate that. It's being where we are, being at 2,500 is crazy. I had a channel for a while, a little over 3 years. I had a channel with my uncle and my cousin, talking about the NFL in general, and that one, I think the most I ever got up to was 176 subscribers. I got this opportunity. Shout out to Derek at Syndicate and for giving me this opportunity. Found me one day. I made a video about the Lions. He just happened to see it, and I ended up getting this opportunity. Here we are a couple years later with your guys' support, with the backing of the other boys in the Syndicate. Here we are at 2,500, something that not too long ago seemed unfathomable, and I can't appreciate you guys' support anymore, man. Like I know I tell you guys a lot, especially during the live streams. The people that come hang out, what you guys do to support, continue to come by the channel, getting in the comment section, hitting the like button, everything you guys do to help out. And you guys are part of the family, man. So I appreciate you guys. And in this one, we're going to be talking about the prediction. We've kind of already talked about schedule prediction, but now as we are a week away from the season, injuries have happened for different teams. We kind of have an idea of what teams are going to look like, especially our own. And of course, now we know who the starter is actually going to be. The last time we did this, it was up in the air. We hoped it'd be AR, but we have Daniel Jones as our starter, seemingly going to be a starter all year long. Right, that's at least the plan for Shane Steichen and the coaching staff. So coming into this one, okay, and we'll talk more in depth week to week about these matchups. And of course, this is week one. We start preparing for the Dolphins on Monday. We're going to start doing that on this channel. We're going to start looking at different things as we go into this game against the Dolphins. I've already been looking up different information, different things that I think you guys would be interested in. And for this Dolphins game, I think there's reason to believe we can win this game. Now, I think they have talent. I think both defensive lines in the game against the Dolphins is really going to be kind of a key on how this plays out. But I think coaching-wise, I think we match up well against them. When you look at Lou Anarumo, I look back at some history, and again, we'll go into more detail. But overall, at the end of the day, I think we should be able to beat the Dolphins. I've thought that throughout the offseason. And just looking at depth charts and looking at kind of the situations, coaching stylistically, how things could work out. I feel like we should be able to win week one. Now, of course, we haven't won in week one in a long time, so it's saying a lot to be able to do that. But we do open the season with 2 home games, and I think we're able to take the first one here against the Dolphins, just like we were able to beat the Dolphins the last time they came to Indy. That time they had Tyler Huntley as their quarterback, and we were able to get that W. But here I think we start 1-0. Then we get the Broncos, who we were competitive with last year until JT dropped the ball right before he gets to the goal line, and then we were outscored 31-0, I believe, after that. Not a competitive game. We got whooped. I don't think this one's going to be the same, but I think the Broncos are, I don't know if they're necessarily a Super Bowl contender, but I was a big Bo Nix believer coming in. I think him and Sean Payton were always going to be a good pairing, and that was fruitful for them last year. They obviously have Pat Surtain on the other side. They have a good defense, a good offense. I just think the Broncos are going to be a really good football team this year. Like, wouldn't be surprised if they win the AFC West, right? Especially with Rashee Rice being suspended for the Chiefs. Now, unfortunately, we don't play the Chiefs in the period that he is suspended, but I do think the Broncos have a chance this year to overtake that division because of the circumstances that surround both those teams currently. And at the end of the day, that ends up being a 4-0-5 game. More eyes are going to be on that one. Hopefully we don't embarrass ourselves. But for that one, I do have us taking the L. So at home, we start with 2 games. I have us going 1-1. And then you get the Titans in Tennessee, right? Going to Nashville in week 3. I think the Titans, I'm a Cam Ward believer. I think he's really good. I don't like the fact that the Titans were bad enough to earn the number 1 pick and be able to snag him up. But I just don't think the rest of that team around him is really built to win now, obviously. We get the number 1 overall pick. That's typically how it is. And I don't like Shane has his faults, but I think we have the coaching advantage as well as it goes into that. Having Lou on the sideline against a rookie quarterback, I think, is going to be good. So go ahead, give me the W, and just chalk that up as 2. We're going to win in Tennessee. We're going to win in Indy. So when that one comes up, that's week 3 and week 8 where we play the Titans. Give us wins there. So that'll make us, if you combine both of those, 3-1 at this point. Then we get the Rams. The Rams are a team that I believe can be a Super Bowl contender. For real Super Bowl contender. That defense is going to be nasty this year. And I think as long as Matthew Stafford's healthy, I think they're a Super Bowl contender. If Jimmy Garoppolo happens to be their quarterback, anything happens to Matt Stafford, I think they're still going to be good. I think they have a really good roster. I think really the main thing you're looking at there is an offensive line that's had to be rebuilt. So how will that do? Our defensive line is really what I'm looking for in the game against the Rams, and how can they perform. But of course, when we get to week 4, we'll look more in depth at that. You know, do any injuries happen on either side and whatnot. But as it sits right now, that's actually another 4-0-5 game against another West Coast team. So a lot of eyes going to be on that one. We go to LA twice. We play the Chargers in LA as well. That's also going to be a 4-0-5 game. A lot of eyes on that one. And just talking about both of those, I think both of those teams have a coaching advantage, and I think that matters. And so I'm going to go ahead and chalk us up for 2 L's right there. So with the games that we've discussed, and the games that we've laid out here, that makes us 3-3. Okay, now as we go on here, I think coaching advantage goes to the Raiders, but I think roster advantage goes to us. Right, I think Geno Smith, a good story in Seattle. Him and Pete Carroll, that pairing is good. Having to go against Ashton Genty, not great. I think he's a phenomenal player. And I think he's going to be an incredible pro. I don't really think there's much doubt about that. I just think the Raiders have more building to do. I don't think there's any reason we should lose to the Raiders. That one's at home in week 5. So we go home, away, and then home against the Raiders. That's a W, 4-3. And then we get the Cardinals. We have a coach who, in Shane Steichen, who is familiar, worked on the same staff at the same time as Jonathan Gannon, the coach with the Cardinals, right? Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, 2 guys very familiar with each other, having to go up against each other in practices. So that'll be an interesting chess match. I think they continue to get better. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be making his first ever appearance as a Cardinal in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. That's going to be an exciting time for Colts fans to be able to see that one. That one's coming up on, October 12th is what that game is going to be at 1 o'clock. And I just think we should be able to win that one. To be completely honest, I know they have Kyler Murray, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr. Their defense, I feel like, is just kind of disappointed since Jonathan Gannon got there. He didn't have the same talent as he had with the Eagles, and it's showing. I think we should be able to win that one. We already talked about the Chargers, the Titans, and then we go to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh, with all the moves they've made, And I'm just somebody who doesn't think Aaron Rodgers is washed right now. I think going into Pittsburgh, incredibly difficult with the history of what normally happens. Chalk us up for an L right there. So as you move through the first 9 weeks of the season, I have us taking 4 L's. So through the first 9, I have us at 5-4. Right, so at the midway point, we seem like a pretty mid team, right? And we're losing to good teams. We're kind of beating up on bad teams up to that point. And then you get the Falcons in Berlin. And this here is where I think the Falcons defense massively disappointed last year. I thought they were going to be good. I thought they had good talent on that team. They just weren't able to put it together. And I do believe that offense can be good. And I think that offense is going to have to be great in order for them to be able to win games. But over there in Berlin, this is 9:30 game. I'm going to have to wake up early for this one. Going to be an early stream that day. But in week 10, I just think we should be able to beat the Falcons, come back home after an international game, and have a bye week in week 11, of course. So going into the bye at 6-4, you need that momentum going into the bye and coming home, because when you come back, that's when you play the Chiefs in week 11, a 1 o'clock game in Arrowhead. And everybody's going to say I'm crazy, but dude, just circumstance, it just doesn't matter what the circumstances are. They could be up. How much were they up in the playoff game? And sure, we had Andrew Luck, but they were demolishing us in Lucas Oil Stadium in a playoff game, and we came all the way back and won. Andrew Luck retires. Well, we have to play the Chiefs that season. Guess what? We go into Arrowhead, and we end up beating Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Right, so, and I believe we're the only team in the NFL that Patrick Mahomes has a losing record against. I'm almost certain that's the stat I saw. I think it's 2-1 in that circumstance, one of which was in the Matt Ryan season. Now, that was a little fluky. We probably shouldn't have won that game. Chris Jones said something that made a flag come out. Who knows? And we ended up winning that game because of Jelani Woods. Shout out. And nonetheless, I chalked us up for a W. The Chiefs can't beat us. They're not going to beat us. I don't really care what's said. I don't care what the argument is. History's history. We're going to lose in Pittsburgh because that's history. We're going to beat the Chiefs because that's typically what happens. So chalk that up as a W for me. And then as we go along here, there are going to be division games. After the Chiefs, we get the Texans in Indy, and then we have the game in Jacksonville, which we know how that typically goes. So with both of those, I have us against the Texans and the Jaguars. We're going to win both of the home games, and we're going to lose both of the road games. I think that's just kind of a fair assessment. But at the end of the day, we get out of the division this year 4-2, which is massively important as we continue to go forward here, because then you get the Seahawks in Seattle in December 14 game, or December 14th is the date. 4:25 is a time for that. So another, not prime time, but a game where a lot of eyes are going to be on that one. You're in Seattle, not an easy place to play. It's going to be cold. Knowing Seattle, it's going to be wet or snowy or whatever the case may be, but definitely going to be cold over there in Seattle for that one. But I just think I think we have the coaching advantage. Mike McDonald last year, and there are things that I've heard about Seattle that I just think we have the advantage, and I think we should be able to go into Seattle and win. Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, JSN, like how are the Seahawks going to be? I'll have to see. I am a fan of JSN. I'm a fan of Cooper Kupp. I'm a fan of Kenneth Walker's really good. Zach Charbonnet, I always thought was going to be really good in the NFL, and he went to a spot where he's kind of more of a committee guy. But if anything happens, I do think he can carry the load. I think he's a really good running back. So I like some of the talent they have over there. That's another game. Our defensive line should be able to do their thing against that offensive line and make life hard for Sam Darnold. And at the end of the day, I have us coming up with a win over there on the West Coast. So going over to the West Coast, not completely fruitless. We lose a couple times in LA, but we do win in Seattle. And then we have a game at home on Monday Night Football, 8:15, December 22nd, Monday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers in the Indiana Knights jerseys. And this one I'm chalking up as a W because that defense has taken a massive step back. They're getting Robert Saleh, so maybe there's some continuity, maybe there's some familiarity, maybe that defense can surprise me. They still have players on that defense, but I do think this is going to be an interesting game. Charvarius Ward, former 49er, good time for a revenge game, right? So go ahead, give me another W against the 49ers. There are going to be people that contest that, and I understand that. If you want to disagree with some of these, that's fine. I could see us losing that one, and then we end up with 10 wins. We've already gone through the division games at the end. We win at home against Jacksonville, and then the last game of the season, we lose on the road to the Houston Texans. Hopefully that one's not a massive ordeal, but I just would assume that last game of the year with the Texans, I haven't looked at the Texans schedule, which I presume is harder because they won the division last year. And the way they're kind of working schedules nowadays, that does matter because they're going to have to play teams that won their division last year. But nonetheless, I have us losing in Houston just because I think splitting those is just kind of the fair way to do it. So at the end of the day, going into the bye, again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins. We're 6-4 going into the Week 11 bye. And by the end of the year, after the bye week, the only 2 losses I have us taking are in Jacksonville, which is typical, and in Houston, which, since T.Y. left, we're not always winning in Houston. So go ahead and, just a little respect to Houston. I know they're a good football team, so go ahead and split the games there. And overall, I have us winning 11 games. It's kind of where I've been at all along. I think as bad as we've and inconsistent as we've been over the past couple of years, we were able to win 9 games. We were able to win 8 games. And I think with continuity on this team, I think bringing this roster is probably the best top to bottom in terms of the starters, in terms of the depth. This is probably the best roster Chris Ballard's ever put together in Indy. For everything we want to say, top to bottom, this is the best roster he's put together in Indy. Get Lou Anarumo for that defense. I think that's going to make a massive difference for the guys that we have on the defensive side of the ball. So go ahead and give me Lou Anarumo and the Colts defense to help be able to propel us in this offense. Everything that's built around the quarterback, we really just need the quarterback to not mess it up for us. We are in any situation we've been in the past where we've been if we just get a quarterback that can do good, like this roster, this particular Chris Ballard roster, if the quarterback doesn't mess it up, we are a 10-win team. I believe that. Now, is there a world where we only win 8 or 9 games, right? If you wanted to chalk up, chalk up the Chiefs as a loss, the 49ers as a loss, then we end up as a 9-win team. Everything else I feel pretty good about. Those ones are a little up in the air, but nonetheless, between 9 and 11 wins. But my final prediction going into the season is we're gonna end up 11-6. And we're going to be fighting for the division at the end. Possible at 11 wins, you should be a playoff team, even in the AFC, which is stacked. But 11 wins should get you in the playoffs. 10 wins, probably kind of iffy, to be completely honest with you, in the AFC. The whole AFC West should be pretty good for the most part. Go through the other divisions, Texans in our division. The AFC North has some good teams. And then what would that leave? The AFC East, Patriots could surprise some people this year. The Bills, of course. And we'll see what the Dolphins do. I think they got worse year over year. But who knows? They could surprise me as well. So we'll see what happens. But that's my prediction as we go into the season. Like to see where you guys are at. What's your prediction as we go into the season? I read you off the games. Home, away, prime time, 4 or 5 games, 1 o'clock games, the Berlin game. Hey, everything I know right now. And again, as we go forward, we're going to go into detail. Now we're getting into game weeks. Now the team is starting to prepare for the Dolphins. We're going to start to prepare for the Dolphins. We're going to start talking about that tomorrow. So if you enjoy the content, please make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified anytime any content drops on this channel. Of course, I appreciate you guys so much for stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.